pleasure to present to you Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr.
I am happy to join with you today.
Good afternoon. My name is Ray Ramirez. We're here at IS 49, and we're here for the Martin Luther King celebration. And we brought some parents together. So I just want to go around the room, have everyone introduce themselves. So we could start with the Reverend right here.
Good afternoon. Happy Dr. King's birthday to you. Reverend Dale Smith, FCBC, CFLC. God bless everybody.
Hello, my name is Gavina Santa Maria. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Alice Scott, and I'm glad to be here today. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Kim Hinkson. Happy Dr. Martin Luther King birthday, and I'm happy to be here also.
Good afternoon. My name is Marvin Abrams, pastor of United Missionary Baptist Church in Brooklyn, New York, and I'm glad to be a part of this celebration.
Thank you so much for taking part in this. So I just want to start off by maybe a conversation. What does Martin Luther King himself mean to you individually? So if we could just start talking about like what he means to you.
I guess I'll be the first. Dr. King means a lot to me because I was a little girl when he was assassinated, and all I can remember are the good things that he shared with the world about us uniting together no matter what color, race, creed, whatever. He wanted all of us to work together and be kind to one another and respect one another. And coming up like in the 60s, that was a major thing that impacted my life, that caused me to get involved with my community no matter where I was living at or whatever. So I've heard some of his sermons that are even greater than I Have a Dream speech. And if people could tune into that, I think it would hit their hearts.
Thank you so much. Anyone else?
Dr. King, the older I got, the more profound of an impact that he had on my life. You know, we are raised to identify ourselves with the, like this young lady said, I have a dream speech. But there's other speeches and sermons out there that he have made, and one in particular that I used yesterday. He did a commencement speech at Morehouse College in 1959, and the title of that speech was "Sleeping Through a Revolution." You know, and he used Rip Van Winkle as an illustration point, in that how that a lot of us, there's a revolution, there's a movement, there's changing that's going on all over the country, in fact all over the world, and that a lot of us are sleeping through it. And this is like today, that a lot of us we don't realize that there's a lot going on around us, and things is happening, and change is coming quickly, and that by us being so distracted as a people, as a country, that change is coming, and we don't see the change coming, especially people in the political places.
Most definitely. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else?
Absolutely. As an heir, a living heir of his legacy, I feel it's my responsibility to try to perpetuate who he truly was. This is a man who was a master of the social gospel. He was third generation social gospel. A lot of people, his father, grandfather, were doing the work way before him. His time and place was perfect time and place for what he did. Remember, he was 26 years old when he first had his PhD. He could walk away from movement. This was a well-to-do gentleman. He was a brilliant scholar. But more than that, he truly was a revolutionary. We had an opportunity today to talk about, as everyone's talking about different speeches, the blueprint speech talks about life. What does your life mean in blueprint? So Dr. King was so many more facets than a lot of people have, the general public illustrates him to be. Dr. King is the fabric of what should be and what could be the potential of this country. So as he said, a lot of times we still come up bankrupt, a statement he used, but if we listen to his legacy and follow it, it's a guideline, it's a blueprint for a better life.
Thank you so much. Would anyone else like to share?
All I like to say, Dr. Luther King was peaceful, justice, and love.
If you want to say, yeah, you just move the mic in front of you. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to say, based on Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech, want to talk about. I just want to mention. I wrote a few things down based on a couple of quotes that he made, and one of the quotes was, You need to take the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase." And another quote he said was, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that." And he said, "Hate can't drive out hate. Only love can do that," right? So I just wrote something. We all have dreams. This is what I got from those two quotes. We all have dreams, and to advise the young people, hold on to your dreams and keep the faith, but take that first step. Even when you don't see the whole staircase, you don't have to leap the whole staircase, but just take one step at a time. But do take that first step. And darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. And hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. Dream on, but keep the faith. Let your light shine in this world of darkness, and don't be afraid to step out on the staircase of hate by loving one another, one step at a time. We've come a long way, but we still have a long way to go, because we're still on that staircase up to freedom.
Thank you so much for that. And your words ring so true. For me, I was born after Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated. But for me, a few years after, but for me, he always, when I think of him, I think of truth in the face of injustice, and being brave regardless of how scary things might be in the face of injustice for the betterment of all, though. And so that's what I think of when I think of Martin Luther King. So to continue, I'd just like to hear about, if Martin Luther King was alive today, how would he feel about the world that we are living in? Would he think that there's progress have been made? I would just like to get your reflections on that. So anyone can start. I know it's a tough question, but sure.
Nah, it's actually, I don't think it's tough. I think Dr. King would be both positive and look negative. I think he'd be positive over all the political figures where we are as African people. I think he'd be very proud of that. I think what he would not be proud of is our lack of using our resources appropriately. If you think it back prior to, this is the most educated class of African Americans right now, yet we're not using half the knowledge the previous generations used. I think he'd be disappointed in that. Also disappointed in the gun violence, but I think he would be happy in the protests still going on. And I know he'd be happy that people still understand protests can move people. So I think it'd be dual, like anything else. I don't think it'd be like the Boondocks film where he moved to Canada. I don't know if everybody saw that episode where Dr. King got to the point he moved to Canada. So I think he was step.
Wow, yeah, that's an interesting point you made about the Boondocks. Yeah, but from their perspective, anyone else who would like to reflect on if Dr. Martin Luther King was alive today, how would he feel about the world today? Would he feel that we've made progress since the 60s?
I believe Dr. King, I believe that he's turning over in his grave today. I believe that he would not be happy with what we as a people, especially this great nation, is projecting. Anytime where we could begin to continue to operate in fear and anger and hatred, but I think that would bring a frown upon his face. His legacy was about reconciliation and bringing people together. And anything that go against that, I think that would actually make him unhappy. I think that he would I believe that he would take all of us to task. That he would challenge us in our way of thinking. That he would challenge us in being better examples for the young people that's coming behind us and to each other. I don't think that he would be happy with what we have put it to, what we are doing today, and that's from the White House to the State House on down to City Hall.
Thank you for that. Anyone else would like to reflect on Martin Luther King, about today, how he would feel, whether he would have thought that we made progress?
Yes, I feel that he would be very upset about the state of our world, our country, our city today. Young people have technology and they know more about our history, as to say the people of color, but they don't take it seriously. And I think there's been a lot of environmental poisoning which affects the way they think and the way they feel. The drug situation, he would not be happy about that, because yes, there's always been drugs, but now these drugs are more potent and they also affect them maybe for the rest of their life. I don't think our children are hearing what they really need to hear. We need to go to the streets and speak like they did back in the days, not just, I believe in God and I believe in going to church, but I think our young people need to hear people out in the street, people who have testimonies of the negativity and how they got through by faith. I think Dr. King was a great teacher about faith, and no matter how dark it may seem, there is a way out. Even if it's that little beam of light, that light will lead you to the right. And he fought for the right. He believed in the right. And him and other leaders of the past have always taught our people to have that faith and that strength. And don't back down. Don't be afraid to speak up. Sometimes we have to be very strong in what we believe. Know what you believe in. Stand up for what you believe in. And I think he would be more persistent with that than some of our leaders today.
Thank you for that. Would anyone else like to contribute to that talk? And that's right. Then we can move on to our final question. Hold on 1 second. So, reflecting on Dr. Martin Luther King, what is your dream for the world or for our youth? So, it is a question that you might take some time to process, but I would like to know, he had his dream for the world and for communities around the world. So what is your dream for the world or for our youth? Or you can answer both.
I was sharing with them, with my parishioners yesterday that I try not to operate in fear, but I do have a great concern when it comes to my daughter, when it comes to my grandson, because I see the direction the country is going in, and I know if we don't make a change, and it had to be a great change, then they do not have no future. And we supposed to leave something behind where they could become our ambassadors into the future. But if we don't provide that for them, then they cannot be our ambassadors. We need someone who's going to help create and policy for us. Like they speaking about Social Security and affordable health care. That's real, We know that there was immigrants that helped make this country what it is today. But yet, we are turning our back on them. And so I live in, I have constant concern for my daughter, for any youth, for any young person that's coming up today, because it seemed like we had taken a giant step backwards, and we empower people that helping us go backwards, you know, and so I worry about that. But I know that in order for us to, our households is not made of brick and mortar, but our households is the communities that we live in. And if we are mindful and be that beacon of light within our communities, we could bring a change within our city, within our state, within our countries. But we have to make a conscious decision to be the light in our community.
Thank you for that. I'm just going to repeat that last question. The last question was, what is your dream for the world or for our youth? So you can answer to both or either.
Okay, my dream is for our youth to really take a look at what's going on around them. And I do agree with the pastor saying it's like we're taking 2 steps back. But that doesn't mean we can't jump 3 leaps ahead of time, because they have more, the youth today have technology which teaches them stuff that we had to go to the library to look up, where they could look it up instantly. But they have to learn to discipline themselves. They need to learn to discipline the good from the bad. They have to really be sensitive to the negativity and be creative to combat that negativity. They have to be able to look up into the sky, talk to the one above, and ask them, what can I do to make a change? Each person can make a change. Okay, they say, you know, it takes a village to raise a child. Okay, our villages have been destroyed, but there could be a group of people that get together in the community nowadays that can bring our youth together. We have to find a way, and my dream is that they will wake up. It's a wake-up call now. They have to wake up, stop sleeping, stop letting other things distract you. And my dream is that when they do come forward, it's like a warrior king. We're going to combat that negativity, and they can do it. They have the power.
Amen.
So that's my dream.
Yes, thank you so much. Anyone else like to share?
Dreams are reality put on hold. So reality put on hold is that working with young people since 1996, a lot of things people say about young people are untrue. They're willing to listen. We as elders have to have that conversation. It's intergenerational. The truth of the matter is connections. A lot of times we're disconnected. We can't be afraid of young people. Young people can't be afraid of us. So my dream is for us to connect together on that level. Everything we're asking for, everything you said was before I spoke was absolutely correct. But it's already here. We have to seize the moment. The moment is right now. Are you talking to a young person when you walk down the street? When I see a young person down the street, I say, what's up, man? How you doing? Will they speak back to me or not? That's a connection, and that has served me well. The same young person I may talk to in 2012, I may see in 2015 and say, hey, man, I remember what you said. So it's all about an intergenerational conversation. I will agree with my family here that once upon a time, there was that voice, but the voice is still here. And there's nothing new underneath the sun. Technology is the only thing that separates us. Let's be honest about it. You always had crime. You always had violence. You always had all the isms. The only separation now is technology. But to Ms. Kim's point, which I think is brilliant, is that technology can be used as a weapon. You would use it as a deficit or weapon. The weapon, and then what I'm saying is this: you say technology to gain more knowledge. So maybe instead of watching a football game, and watching a documentary about Dr. King around our TV set. So technology can be so powerful. What we're putting on Facebook, are we using Facebook to teach or just to see what somebody else is doing? So really the onus is still on us. So and then also as an elder, I gotta be willing to be able to be taught by somebody younger than me. Amen. So I think that's the dream. And that's what Dr. King was talking about. We're talking about the dream. I may not get there with you, but I'm coming to the promised land. We live still in the promised land right now. So we have to seize the moment, though.
Any final comment on this topic?
I believe that this is first of all, I want to thank you for this opportunity to get up here and be a part of this podcast. You know, what we have today, what we're doing right now, is perfect. You know, we are creating a situation, we are creating opportunity for the kids to see us speak about what we are speaking about now. You know, I believe that we need outlets and other things of this nature. This is beautiful. I would have never thought about this, you know, where that might strike an interest, like this young lady was welcome, Sister Kip, right? You know, they like being on technology, and so we could utilize it and allow it to become a weapon, like the Reverend said, and so that something that they could grasp, something keep them stimulated, you know. But most of all, I believe that all of us have to lead by example, you know, and we can't be too afraid to speak out against wrong. I heard someone say that the good suffer with the bad because the good sit there and they keep their mouth closed. We have to learn how to open up a mouth, and injustice to one is an injustice to all. It's one of the things that he also said. And that so just because it's not happening in your household, doesn't mean sooner or later it won't creep up into my household. And so I have to lead by example and also continue to be a voice for the voiceless.
Definitely. That reminds me of this term I heard, silence is complicity, right? And if you're silent, you are complying with everything that's happening. And so you must speak up all the time. So, yes. You want to say?
So on that note of silence.
Yes, on that note, though, I want to thank you all for taking part in this podcast on behalf of the Staten Island Urban Center, on behalf of IS-49 and the JCC Beacon Program, and Dr. Martin Luther King. We thank you all as a community. Thank you.
I have the pleasure to present to you Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr.
I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. Five score years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will they be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day, down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification. One day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted. And every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day when all of God's children be able to sing with new meaning, my country, tears of thee. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. And so let freedom ring. From the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, let freedom ring. From the mighty mountains of New York, let freedom ring. From the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania, let freedom ring. From the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado, let freedom ring. From the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring, and when it happens, when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God Almighty.